Wednesday, weather for Weather Geeks time here on August the 5th. Beautiful, beautiful, perfect summer day outside today with sunshine, low humidity, nice breeze. It's beautiful out there this evening. Take advantage of it while you can. As you know, winter will be here before you know it. But let's focus on the short term and we'll take a look at the long range as well. And before we do that, I want to look back at the past here. I think by the time Sunday rolls around, we'll have strung together 19 days. A 19-day stretch where we've only had about 7/100ths of an inch worth of rain at the airport, and that all came in one day. So the vast majority of a 19-day stretch completely dry. When you look back at previous 19-day stretches, here's the list of the driest 19-day stretches in recorded history here in Youngstown, and it's kind of interesting to see what time of the year a lot of these tend to occur. We tend to have we tend to be most prone to dry stretches of weather in September and October. Here's September of 1995. Then you go down into September 1964, October of 1963, and then a couple of oddballs here. 1942, mid-spring, we had a long stretch of dry weather. That's kind of unusual. But for the most part, our driest months of the year kind of tend to be September and October in terms of liquid precipitation. So it's a little early in the year to have a stretch like this here in late July and August. Our yards are getting brown. We could use some rain, but yeah, none coming over the next few days. If you missed this earlier, I showed this on the news. I posted it on Facebook and Twitter this morning. This is an awesome animation put out by NASA today from a satellite that's 1 million miles above the Earth, even past the moon. And what you're seeing here is the moon doing a full transit of the fully illuminated disk of Earth a few days ago. And what's great about this, there's a number of things great about this, but what's really cool is this gives us a nice view of the far side of the moon, the side of the moon that we never see here on Earth. We always see one side of the moon, and so this gives us a look at the other side. So really interesting stuff. Go to NASA's webpage. You can find this. You can find this on my Facebook and Twitter feeds if you want to keep watching this. It's kind of mesmerizing, if you ask me. All right, beautiful weather out there this evening. Again, just a few thin fair weather clouds around. Temperatures in the mid-70s in the 7 o'clock hour. Dew points well down into the lower 50s. That's going to allow temperatures to drop nicely again tonight. We'll probably end up in the mid-50s in most spots. Here's our next weather maker moving east, but this is going to be a battle between this system and an area of high pressure off to the north. And for us, the high pressure zone is going to win. It's going to suppress the rain to the south. So this will not bring us rain tomorrow, but it will bring us a shield of clouds tomorrow. I think there can be some milky sunshine trying to mix in, especially north of 224, but the farther south you are, the cloudier it will be overall during the course of our Thursday. Let's take a look at the NAM model, show you where it puts this rain tomorrow. Here's tomorrow morning, bringing the rain to Cincinnati, Marietta, Parkersburg, Charleston, Lexington, and Louisville. And by the afternoon, the rain may get as far north as Columbus to Wheeling. That's about it, I suspect. Even all the way up to Route 30, there's probably a 10% chance you get a little rain tomorrow, but it's just real small chance. Most of this is going to be a mist to the south for us. And then we're looking great through the upcoming weekend. Friday's going to turn sunny, and the weekend also looking fantastic as well, with temperatures getting into the 80s and the dew points staying on the low side. As we take a look at the longer range then, here's a look at the upper level weather pattern here, up at about 18,000 feet up in the atmosphere. We call this the 500 millibar level. About half the Earth's atmosphere resides below this level and half above it. It's only 18,000 feet high, so of course the atmosphere is much denser closer to the ground than as you get higher in altitude. But anyway, I digress. We look at this to kind of pick out the overall weather patterns across the region. When you see the blues, that's usually indicating a trough. A trough in the upper levels of the atmosphere, usually associated with cool and unsettled weather. Where you see the reds, that's a ridge of high pressure, usually associated with warm and or dry weather. With the trough over the East Coast tomorrow and pushing out to sea, we're going to be still locked in this cooler than average pattern with the heat underneath this ridge out here. As we go into the weekend, a little bit of troughiness still lingering up in New England, but generally speaking, this ridge that was centered out here is migrating east, and that will allow some of the warm air to migrate east. So we'll get to average, maybe even a little above average over the course of the weekend. Now, as we go into next week, boy, this is not a pattern that's going to produce much heat because look what happens. Another trough digs into the Great Lakes and the Northeast. Big ridge from Texas all the way up through Canada. Very warm out here next week. But with the flow of air out of the northwest like this in our neck of the woods, that's going to prevent us from getting very warm. Now, we could get to average next week. We could have highs in the upper 70s to around 80, but not going to see any 85 to 90s anytime real soon in this type of pattern. 84, 85, about as warm as it should be. The end of next week into next weekend, we're talking about right in the middle of the month here on Saturday the 15th. The pattern hasn't changed much. Probably still a ridge out here, some troughiness in the east, and again, that will prevent much of the heat from coming east. It's fine by me, but if you're, if your preference is for hot weather, you're not going to like this pattern for the next couple of weeks. What about rain? We really could use some rain. And with this northwest flow in the atmosphere, you're not going to get a lot of juicy Gulf moisture getting involved. You can have some minor systems coming down and producing, the occasional shower or thunderstorm, but we're not likely to get in on the really humid air that can sometimes lead to some heavy downpours. So we're probably going to stay drier than average through at least the middle of the month and perhaps even beyond that. So stay tuned for more long-range thoughts as we go towards mid-August. And I thank you for watching the Wednesday Night Weather for Weather Geeks. Fresh updated 7-day forecast tonight at 11 on 21 News. And if you're an early riser, be sure and join Jess Briganti on WFMJ today, tomorrow morning. She'll keep you up to date on the latest weather happenings. Have a great night.